Ukraine's west, far from the front lines, it's easy to forget this is a country in conflict. In Uzhhorod, people are out walking, visiting cafes, doing their shopping. But this has become a town of refuge for tens of thousands of people who've fled here since the fighting began. Bogdan Efomenko and his mother have just picked up their latest free supplies from one of the collection points.
We've been moving from hotel to hotel for 1 week so far. We haven't found an apartment yet. We're still looking for one. Maybe in 2 days we'll move into a hostel.
They escaped Kharkiv in the northeast, where they'd spent a week living underground in the city's subway tunnels.
It's my father.
A disability prevented Bogdan from signing up to fight, but his father and brother have.
I'm in contact with my father, and my father's now in the Sumy Oblast region, defending the borders. It's very dangerous to talk on the phone right now. He sometimes sends pictures. He just says, "How are you feeling? All right or all bad?"
The families, mainly mothers and children, have similar stories of leaving husbands and sons to fight while they made their way west. Millions of people have left Ukraine, but many more, now over 7 million, forced from their homes, are arriving in towns like these, in need of food and shelter, and with no idea where they're going to go next. Groups of volunteers are running food halls, offering hot meals, many themselves forced here by the fighting, and now trying to settle locally.
I think a lot of people, they miss their home, their houses, their families. So there are people who are ready to stay. There are people who are ready to move forward. And there, of course, there are people who want to go back, and they're waiting for the moment till it's safe. But it's not yet.
It's become a region full of people from other places. But some of Uzhhorod's residents who left have returned. Less than half a mile away are the graves of 12 fallen soldiers, their deaths all within the last few weeks. And already prepared, waiting alongside theirs, is a grave freshly dug, ready for whoever comes home next. So a long way from the fighting, but the impact of that conflict very much being felt in this region. And as well as the dead being brought to this part of Ukraine, so are some of the casualties. We've been in touch with a couple of military hospitals, one here in Mukachevo, another about 20 kilometers away in Berehov. And we're not being told the exact number of soldiers who are there, but we are being told that they have been sent from the front lines where they've been fighting and where they've been injured here to recover. The mood, according to the governor, amongst the people is one of determination and one of resilience. They feel that they can overcome in this conflict. Jamie?
Nick, thanks for that. Our correspondent Nick Harper in Ukraine.
War in Ukraine isn't new. Fighting began in eastern Ukraine back in 2014. Our reporter Li Jianhua has been speaking to people who live in the Russian-controlled part of Donetsk, who have endured years of fighting.
It's been 2 weeks since this building, located on the outskirts of Donetsk, was bombarded. The memories are fresh for those who lived through it. Lida Baturova told me she used to live on the 9th floor, and she was lucky when she was not at home.
You don't know from which side the shrapnel will fly at you, so of course it's very scary. It's quiet now. It seems like there is no war, but I can't believe it. God forbid it should happen again. It's horrible, very scary.
Then we come to a village only about 5 kilometers away from the front line. A bomb landed in this yard about 7 years ago, a year after the Donbas region officially staged the protests against Kiev.
The windows were blown away by the blast. The plaster of the walls fell off. The house was in a very bad condition. There was a garage here. It was hit directly, and it crumpled in. There was a summer house with strong construction, and it also collapsed. It happened in the late evening. My father was injured by some fragments.
The family has moved multiple times in the past few years, and the children have stopped going to school.
We can hear the shellings. The military actions resumed, but now we get hope. We believe it will end. All these years before the escalation. We live with the feeling, which is probably called helplessness. When we hear bomb shellings, we don't know when it will be over.
When will the military confrontation be over? These soldiers are asking the same question. Many of these veterans have been fighting in the region for nearly 8 years. They wonder if they can protect civilians if another military offensive takes place.
Civilians will suffer from our enemy. That's why we try to block large cities instead of going into the cities so as to minimize the impact of our military operation on civilians' lives.
A number of men have been mobilized to join the army in the city, and now in the streets of Donetsk, this slogan is everywhere, which says, "We won in 1943 and we'll win now."
This is the center of Donetsk. As you can see in the streets, it is getting quieter. People just don't want to venture out. And you can hear bomb blasts now and then, though it's around 15 kilometers away from the front line. Locals told us they're scared, but more importantly, they're tired of the continuous fighting. Li Jianhua, CGTN, Donetsk.